Previously on What If Piccolo Got Potential Unleashed Early. The Tournament of Power begins. Thankfully, the Z Fighters had allies all over, including the androids, Granola, and more. Goku and Vegeta continued to try and evolve Super Saiyan 4, awakening a limit-breaking form, but it's not exactly what they're looking for. Meanwhile, Piccolo tried to reignite the fire within Saonel, promising to visit Namek of Universe 6, while Gohan tried to understand Ultra Instinct and tapped into it for a moment, though it didn't work well for him. It just went against his nature. Still, the team was able to take down Jiren, leaving Gohan and Saonel as the final two fighters, with Gohan knocking Saonel off the ring, but saving him just in time. This show of sportsmanship surprised the Grand Priest and Zeno, who allowed them to make the wish to restore the universes together. Welcome SmugStick, it's everyone. Today we will tackle a special Goku, Vegeta, and Broly episode, with the final part of Piccolo coming next Sunday, with an early preview up on Patreon. Let's begin with the story. Gohan and Piccolo had gone off to planet Namek in Universe 6, picking up the U6 Saiyans along the way. Namek was a beautiful planet with large cities, as they never had the drought that nearly destroyed their race like Universe 7. Still, there were plants everywhere. Kaba and Kale liked it, while Caulifla was just excited for the fight. Saonel and Pirina had brought many more Namekians with them. They seemed to be a little confused, rather than intrigued, as Piccolo tried to explain how their warrior clan should have a fire within them, but most of them saw it as cheap tricks. It seemed like peace had made them far too soft. But Saonel told everyone to listen closely, as Piccolo continued to tell stories of his adventures to his people. They had no idea they could accomplish such things. They thought only someone like Saonel could. They were also surprised to hear that he was an evil being long ago, but that friendship with the Saiyans and the humans changed him, and that perhaps living in isolation isn't the right thing for Namekians to do. How can they hope to improve if they have no contact with other cultures? Meanwhile, Gohan supervised the fight between the U6 Saiyans. They were great. And the more he saw them fight and evolve, he realized why they seemed so familiar to him, especially once Piccolo called on Saonel to fight the Saiyans too, to show off what the warrior clan can do. Gohan couldn't believe how much everyone had changed. Piccolo's power seems never ending, as his orange form always had power left to show. It seemed like from the very beginning, he had never used 100% of his power. Goku and Vegeta had found their own paths, though even they wanted to diverge from each other. He knew they were working towards something special, but what about himself? Whis had mentioned to him after the tournament that he did seem to tap into Ultra Instinct, or at least an omen of that, but it was clear that he couldn't keep it up. It was a power that actively fought against him. Whis thought that it could be because a calm heart was needed, at least at first, but that state doesn't manifest itself in everyone the same, so he doesn't think it's impossible for him to make use of it. Perhaps he just needs a different angle. If anything, it seems as if they need to figure out a trick for Gohan. He is an emotional being, and the form, in the way that Goku uses it through the original story, wouldn't fit him exactly well. So Gohan has taken it upon himself to do what he can the best: study the form in and out. In theory, he understands it very well, as he has a notebook full of notes just about Ultra Instinct, analyzing how Whis moves and even Vados. But every day he continues to fear that maybe this really isn't for him. On the pages of his notes, he has written, Ultra Instinct, no thoughts, just instinct. Looking at it over and over again. How could he ever hope to get to that if all he ever did was think? Piccolo, on the other hand, continued to evolve his orange state. He had spent more time in Universe 7's planet Namek, learning from his own culture and figuring out techniques based on his roots. It's the reason why he's been using his stretchy arms as well as his giant form. It's things like that which made his form unique. He was still the strongest of them all, but they were catching up. Gohan began to notice in the way they all moved that it seemed like the fighters from Universe 6 were reflections of fighters in Universe 7. At first he thought this was ridiculous, but then he remembered these were twin universes: Goku and Caulifla, Vegeta and Kaba, Saonel and Piccolo. Gohan mentioned this to them all during a meal afterwards. These Namekians, though they don't need to eat, do eat because of pleasure, and their food is quite well known. The one reflection Gohan noticed was not accounted for was Kale. Piccolo thought it could be Gohan, if this theory is to be believed, but Gohan looked at Kale. No, that couldn't be it. If there were twin universes, then perhaps Kale did have a counterpart. But who could it be? Broly punches Goku across the battlefield and into the side of the Frieza Force spaceship, nearly destroying it. Goku wipes some blood off his face, while Vegeta powered up for his turn. Broly had been found by Berry Blue. After Frieza's defeat, she had gone off to try to find any way to bring him back and return honor to the Frieza Force. After King Cold's death, it was obvious that Earth was too dangerous to keep around. Eventually, she stumbled upon Broly, who would be one of her only options. They tested him, taking it a little slower than Frieza did, as they really saw the Force as a new home for them. Broly's training was arduous, but there was no one in the Force that could compete against him, especially when he lost control. The Frieza Force gave Paragus a new collar and a remote that was stronger than the one he made from ship parts, and could give up more voltage if needed. Berry Blue decided to head to Earth. They suspected that Earth could have Dragon Balls like the old planet Namek. If so, they could use them to revive Frieza, while Broly dealt with their enemies. But Goku and Vegeta weren't going to give up without a fight. Clearly, Super Saiyan wasn't working. It was time to step it up a notch. Vegeta burst his aura open, transforming into Super Saiyan 4. You have the power of the Ozaru in your normal state. It's similar to something Kakarot and I used long ago. We've taken that primal power and made it our own. The Ozaru doesn't control us. We control it. Vegeta disappeared and reappeared in front of Broly, snapping into Limit Breaker as he slammed his fist into Broly's chest, winding him. Vegeta then blasted at Broly in point-blank range. He was sent flying back, but as soon as he hit the mountain, he exploded further in power, firing a powerful blast from his mouth and into the atmosphere. It was like a volcano erupting. Paragus was terrified. This is the furthest he had ever allowed Broly to go, but he didn't press it. Not yet. Broly continued the battle, focusing on Vegeta. This actually surprised him. Broly was evolving with each punch and kick, to the point where Vegeta began kind of coaching him because he wanted a raw Saiyan challenge. Goku was a bit worried. At this rate, Broly could get out of hand. In fact, it seemed like just that was about to happen when Vegeta kept on taunting Broly until he fired a giant blaster towards Vegeta. He tried to evade it, but it followed him. The prince had no option but to defend himself against it. As the blast destroyed mountains, fire began to erupt below them. Paragus had to press the button. He had to, otherwise they would all die. His trigger finger was itching, but Berry Blue told him to wait a second and watch. As the blast dissipated, Vegeta fell to one knee, hurt, but not out of the running. He looked up to see that Broly was stopped dead in his tracks by Super Saiyan 4 Goku. He was using a Godbind to immobilize Broly. Paragus kept his finger right over the button, but began to relax. If Broly did calm down, then they could leave. Surely the Frieza Force had more resources for him to control his power and eventually defeat Vegeta. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Fighting. We can help you. We can teach you more. Just imagine this power you have now. The Ozaru within you. All you need is your tail back and Super Saiyan. Then we can grow stronger together. You and your dad can live here. What do you say? I promise that Vegeta has... The sound of Vegeta's name triggered Broly, who was in fact listening. He did enjoy it. He did want to grow, but the things he had heard about Vegeta over the years, the anger he felt towards him because of his father. Even so, he believed what Goku was saying. He wanted to finish this fight as the restraints broke apart. Broly reached out, not with hatred, but with the adrenaline of a Saiyan, ready to blast Goku again as he stumbled back. But Paragus was too afraid. He was terrified and finally pressed the button. Goku's eyes shifted from ones of shock to worry. He tried to reach back to Broly, but the electricity shocked him too. There was little he could do. He couldn't save him. Who could do something like this? Vegeta looked around, finally spotting Paragus with the remote. How could he do this to his own son? He seemed to be gaining control for a moment. Was he that afraid of him? Without thinking, Vegeta fired a blast towards Paragus and Berry Blue. He knocked Paragus back and to the foot of the ship, the remote still in his hand. But Broly was freed. Berry Blue was knocked to the side as well, cursing. Were the Dragon Balls worth all of this? Goku sighed, happy that Broly was okay. But as he turned back to look at him, he realized he was shaking with power. He was going to blow. His eyes were fixated on his father. Goku rushed backwards, grabbing Vegeta along the way as there was a huge explosion. Berry Blue couldn't believe what she was seeing. Was this the legendary Super Saiyan Frieza feared so much? Goku and Vegeta looked up. This power was unimaginable, but they could surely still take him on, right? Broly wasted no time in ramming through both of them. Every usual trick they tried wouldn't work. Even their tails were failing them to try and trip Broly or catch him off guard. Goku and Vegeta were forced into their limit break form again, but it simply ate through their energy. They were at the edge of something great. If Gohan was at the verge of his own Ultra Instinct, then they were at the verge of their own Ultra Form too. Broly continued to attack over and over again. Barry Blue retreated with the rest of the Frieza Force, leaving the unconscious Paragus on the snow. No matter what Goku and Vegeta did, they couldn't get out of his grasp, as at one point Broly even grabbed them both by the tail and swung them into the ground. Broly pulled back, fist roaring with energy, ready to strike down and defeat the pair. It was clear Goku and Vegeta were at their limits, the limits of the Saiyan race, of their own spirit. Broly was far too overwhelming. However, Goku thought of Vegeta, of how much they had grown thanks to each other. He couldn't allow himself to disappoint him now. Likewise, Vegeta thought the same. The rivalry was eternal and universal, two beings breaking their limits and evolving past each other over and over again. This is a concept found within the essence of life. Goku and Vegeta's power was eternal because their rivalry was, from the very beginning when Zeno created the universe to now, the building blocks of life, a rivalry. As Broly is about to defeat them, their auras burst into a double helix of DNA and meet in the middle, showing brand new forms, two different evolutionary paths. Goku and Vegeta, their Ultra Saiyan forms, caught Broly's punches and pushed him back with such force that it triggered a sonic boom. Goku started to raise his ki again, beyond all of his capabilities. His aura was getting fiercer. In reality, Whis and Beerus had pointed them both in the right direction, though in different paths.
I had to take a few steps back, finishing up what I had on my plate. Since Super Saiyan 4 is the power of the Super Saiyan and the Great Ape, I knew that if I wanted to pursue something stronger, I had to master Super Saiyan 2 first, and even 3. It was hard to get, and even harder to control, without all the rage, all the stress, entirely calm and under control, benefiting not only the 4th form, but allowing me to push further, to break my limits beyond. I realized that the art of peace and the art of war are one of the same. I guess you could say, Broly, the best defense is a good offense. The power of our Saiyan heritage, the Ultra Saiyan form. To make it easy, why don't we call this Super Saiyan 5.
Vegeta smirked, a dark crimson aura engulfing the prince, as his power, strength, and endurance skyrocketed, looking more monstrous and primal than usual. He successfully managed to tap into the Ozaru once more, while still in his humanoid form, the opposite of Goku's approach. Vegeta roared, fueled by rage and excitement for battle. His Ultra Saiyan, his own Super Saiyan 5. In essence, this is Goku and Vegeta using Beerus's and Whis' teachings to create what would be something similar to Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego, but using Super Saiyan 4 as a base to evolve upon it, instead of their actual base form, since Super Saiyan 4 itself brings the Saiyan to their fighting prime. Broly roared, but the two Saiyans responded with a roar of their own. 3 great apes waking up Paragus. The fight was incredible, with Goku dodging in a way that gave Vegeta an opening to attack. It's just as we said in the anime. When working together, Vegeta and Goku could potentially surpass the gods. Vegeta evaded a punch from Broly, as Goku jumped over it and created a staff made out of pure ki, striking Broly over the head with it and rising back up along with Vegeta, punching Broly with a twin Ozaru punch to the sky. Goku appeared above them, firing a Kamehameha, forcing Broly to crash down, just as Vegeta fired his own ki ball to meet in the middle and defeat the monster. But Broly's aura erupted, dissipating the Kamehameha as he broke from his armor and dodged Vegeta's ki ball mid-air. But Vegeta reacted faster, making a fist with his hand.
Burst open and mix!
The ki ball expanded and exploded in energy, reaching Broly and hurting him greatly. Vegeta had used the artificial moon as a weapon. Broly was buried in the snow, and it all seemed over, as Goku and Vegeta descended down to look for him, but he rose again, with even more power than before. The artificial moon was giving him more strength. Paragus was alone, as he watched the battle on his knees. Without his son, he had nothing left. He had to stop him. He looked around the snow for the remote, apologizing to Broly as he found it and pressed it. Goku and Vegeta turned to look at Paragus, cursing at him, but it still wasn't stopping Broly. He kept walking forward through the electricity, though it was slowing him down. Paragus increased the voltage until the remote exploded in his hand, and Broly was burning with rage and pain. The electricity wouldn't stop.
Kakarot! Right, Vegeta.
The pair of Saiyans moved their arms towards Broly. He reacted by attempting to defend himself, but a punch never reached him. Instead, he opened his eyes to see Goku and Vegeta struggling through the pain as they were now grabbing onto the electric collar, burning their own arms in the process. What were they doing? Even Paragus was surprised. They both yelled at Broly to pull back at the same time, screaming in pain as they ripped the collar apart off of Broly's neck, exploding in the middle. All three Saiyans fell in the snow, unconscious for a second. Let me pause for a moment. You may recognize these forms. These designs were concept art for Dragon Ball Heroes, some of the original ideas for Super Saiyan 4 Limit Breaker. We thought that it fit Goku and Vegeta if they were to evolve Super Saiyan 4. Anyways, let's get back to the story. Paragus sighed in relief, making his way towards his son and hugging him, glad that he was safe. Then turning to defend him from Vegeta and Goku, who had stood up. But Vegeta repeated Goku's sentiment. They wanted them to live on Earth, so they could help Broly. Isn't that what Paragus wanted too? Paragus had always thought of using Broly as a weapon against Vegeta, as he assumed his power would always be uncontrollable. But seeing them use their strength against Broly like that, could this be a new path? Reluctantly, Paragus accepted, as Broly smiled at his father, telling him that he's tired and he doesn't want to fight anymore right now. Meanwhile, back at Universe 6, the Saiyans and the Namekians were beaten and tired from fighting. It really seemed like that orange state was just the strongest as of now, but Saunel was done for. The only ones that were still fighting were Gohan and Piccolo, who seemed as if they were fighting for hours. In reality, this was Piccolo's way of celebrating with Gohan, who had recently found out that he would be a father. Gohan had really grown to appreciate fighting, more so than in the original story, as this is all happening earlier than in canon, so Gohan hadn't been as busy with work and instead had a chance to study and train. He never really stopped. He was fascinated by the idea of Ultra Instinct now, and his notebook rested with notes all about it. Gohan didn't know it yet, but his studies would help him achieve that goal, as he knew technically how the form worked in and out. And even as he fought Piccolo, there were glimpses of it, that silver aura sparking up, allowing Gohan to dodge, but it only lasted a few seconds. He could never keep it up. But Piccolo was determined to help his student. Maybe this approach to Ultra Instinct wasn't exactly for him, but no matter what, they would figure it out together. As unknown to them, as soon as they returned home, they had a new ally waiting for them. Thank you guys for watching this previous to last part of What If Piccolo Got Orange Early. I know there's two different names for this story. I decided to change it at some point. Doesn't really matter. I want to give a huge thank you to Rogmain. He was the main mastermind behind the whole concept of Goku and Vegeta's new form. I explained it in the video, but if you didn't know, these two new forms are inspired by concept art from Dragon Ball Heroes. They were two ideas of what Super Saiyan 4 Limit Breaker could be. We decided to integrate them into Goku and Vegeta as it fit their characters. The next part of Piccolo will be the final one, and it is special, one of my favorite parts I have ever written. And as always, a huge thank you to the Patreons and members of the channel, whose names you can see on the screen now. They get to watch videos like this early, as well as a few other perks, such as chatting with me and suggesting new videos. And if you're looking for more Dragon Ball content, be sure to check out What If Trunks Stayed in the Past.